So the Detroit Pistons are a basketball team, and I think that is the best assessment you can make of them, because they are 4 games under 500 in an Eastern Conference that has about 5 good teams. And it's not rocket science as to why the Pistons are not that good. They have 3 good players: Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, and Reggie Bullock. And no, I did not mean to say Reggie Jackson. I meant to say Reggie Bullock, as he is a pretty good 3-and-D dude. And Reggie Jackson is one of the most blah to underwhelming to least self-aware point guards that you can name in the NBA right now, at least among starters. And I think he is kind of the beginning of the problems for this team. I mean, defensively, they're not that bad. Like, sure, they're like mid-tier in the league, but that's good enough if your offense doesn't suck. But their offense does suck. And I think if you could somehow turn Reggie Jackson into just a better point guard, I mean, hell, even like Goran Dragic on his best days of the last 3 years could turn these dudes into a decent offensive team. But unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. Now, sure, there are some basketball things I could get into, X's and O's things I could get into. I'm not going to bother with any of that, because at the very best, this team is the 6th best team in the Eastern Conference or whatever. I more so want to talk about what can you do from a personnel standpoint, the money stuff and all that, to try to dig this team out of where they're at right now. So, the one thing I think we need to remember with the Pistons, if we say to tank, is that there is a fear that no one will go to the games, because this team already has a problem with attendance, and that's been a problem for them for nearly a decade at this point. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think that they should just try everything possible to be a 44-win team. I mean, if you have to take the bullet and be bad to get high draft picks, if that's your only real option, then I think you got to do it, but that is perhaps something to remember. So I think the one thing the Pistons have going for them, if they wanted to try some sort of a fix right now, is they do have some expiring contracts. Between Ish Smith, Stanley Johnson, Zaza, Calderon, Henry Ellenson, could you put some of these salaries together to get some player? Maybe. I think depending on the length of some other contract out there, you may even be able to include John Lure or Langston Galloway's money, because their contracts are up after next season. I don't know if anybody really wants Reggie Jackson. I mean, he's making a lot of money and he's just not that good. But some of these dudes I think you could put together for something. Now, the only move I could think of off the top of my head that would be amazing is if for some reason Phoenix was willing to give up TJ Warren, which is something I would have said they should do like 6 months ago, and now I realize I was full of crap on that one. But given how weird the Phoenix front office is in terms of everything that's happened with them the past couple months with the Tyson Chandler buyout and all that, and the Austin Rivers weirdness, maybe they'd do something nuts like that. You know, try to get desperate, try to get off of one of these wings. And if you included some sort of pick compensation, put protections on it, please. But if you did something to that sort, then maybe someone like TJ Warren could happen. And given that he's 25 and he's on a multi-year deal, and you're getting rid of players who aren't that good, you know, maybe that could be something. A Blake, Drummond, TJ Warren, or insert other player who's on a multi-year deal in their mid-20s who can help you win right now. And Reggie Bullock, that's a decent 4-unit thing, right? Now, it's certainly not a championship, but we've seen it with teams where simply making yourself respectable and not killing your books. And remember, I mean, they are going to have Reggie Jackson coming up after next season, and the salary cap is going up the next couple years, so there is a way you could make a move and not destroy your cap for the next couple years. And then, if you're at least like a decent team, you could be in the running for some sort of a free agent. So there is value in going that route, but whether the perfect trade falls in their lap or not, that's another conversation entirely. I mean, who knows what's going to happen at this deadline? The rumors this year have been pretty dry. I guess Stanley Johnson could be someone that you could dangle out there. You might be able to get a player for him. I don't know. He's about to be a restricted free agent, and his offense has not come around, but perhaps there's some other team out there who trusts their development staff to get him to just, whether it's make shots or be an actual ball handler, who knows. I think that's an avenue they should at least explore. If that is not out there, then they may have to have the perfect balance of appearing like they're going for it for the sake of the players being happy and trying to get fans to come to the games as much as they can, I guess. But then around the 70th game or so this year, play Blake and Andre like 28 minutes a game. Hell, even have Blake get some phantom injury or whatever and just nosedive for the end of the season and try to get yourself as high of a draft pick as possible while still having a somewhat respectable year, you know, relative to what this team has been for the last decade. And then you still give yourself a decent chance at a draft pick. I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, you could just be horrible from this point on to go all out for a high pick. But again, this is not the New York Knicks where you can be horrible for a long time and still be one of the most, if not the most profitable teams in the league. I guess what could be interesting to see is if they pull a Washington Wizards, which is you trade either this year's pick or some future pick for a guy who, you know, like Markieff Morris, or they traded for Bogdanovich that one year. Like a guy who, sure, he's a dude, but he doesn't really move the needle for you at all. So yeah, basically ways to improve this team are use the expirings to maybe get somebody. And if not that, just try to get as high of a pick while still getting people to actually attend your basketball games. I want to talk about Andre Drummond for a little bit because he's got that player option coming up in 2021. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I mean, typically, you know, if this is Anthony Davis, then we're having a pretty big conversation here because, of course, with Davis, well, we all know that situation. The Pistons are in a similar boat to the Pelicans. I mean, they're a worse team, but the big thing is, like, sure, Drummond is not Anthony Davis, but he's still Andre Drummond. And is there a chance that he's not going to want to stay here and he's going to decline that player option? Because I do think he could probably make, well, I don't know. I don't consider him to be a $28 million player, but I do think he could get more money than $28 million, especially with the cap going up. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, maybe the Pistons sense that he would want to bounce because it's not like the situation is that great. And perhaps, I mean, is an Andre Drummond trade in the works? Not because the Pistons want to trade him, but because they might just kind of have to. You could certainly get something. Sure, you wouldn't get the farm for the guy, but I could picture somebody wanting him. I don't know. I don't want to invest too much time in that because, to be kind of mean, I don't think Andre Drummond is that interesting. I mean, sure, he may go down as the greatest rebounder ever and he's going to make some all-star teams, but he's Andre Drummond. We know what he is. I would be a little bit more excited to talk about him if his free throws didn't dip down from last season and if they had not stopped using him as a playmaker, but that Drummond is pretty much dead, so yeah. Other little things we can talk about. Is Luke Kennard going to happen? I mean, I'm singing the dude's praises all the time on Twitter and occasionally on YouTube. I think he can be good. Like, he can make threes. I think he can go off the dribble occasionally. And he's got some okay size at 6'5". It just seems like he's a little overwhelmed by the NBA. Perhaps he should be playing a little bit more, but I don't think he's demanded that with his play either. Like, I think Reggie Bullock's a better player. Yeah, if I'm running out of steam here, it's because, I mean, it's the Pistons. It's the most blah situation going right now. I guess if we can talk about that draft pick a little bit more, who should they go for? I mean, it's going to depend on where they fall, and I have not invested much time at all in learning about the upcoming draft. I've pretty much just been spoon-fed Duke stuff. I think just going for the best player would be the way to go. I mean, I could picture arguing not to draft a 4 or a 5, but I mean, I don't know what position Zion's going to be, and I have no idea whether they're even going to have a chance to select him. They would have to nosedive pretty hard at the end of the season. But, you know, maybe they got lucky in the lottery or whatever, and they were able to get him. Then I could picture still drafting him because, well, at a certain point, if a guy's just so damn good, you can't be worrying about the fit. So, I mean, I guess I could see the rationale in wanting a perimeter player because this team just desperately needs a creator like that. So, we'll have to see where they end up in the draft and all that. But yeah, that is about all I have for this Pistons team. It's definitely bleak. There are things they could do, but yeah, it is what it is. It's the Detroit Pistons.